March Madness is here. It is time. And I got my hog hat on. Let's roll and let's dance. What's going on, Dog Squad? TreyDOG here with my March Madness predictions here on the channel. I'm gonna be predicting my whole bracket, give you my champion, give you my reasons why I picked one each for each pick. We're gonna be doing that stuff today. But as we get into this video, make sure to subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so never miss one of my videos. We're on the road to 2K subs here. Also, the gaming channel is on the run to 100 subs, so make sure you go subscribe. The link is in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's get right into this video, Dog Squad. I'll have the hog hat on whenever it's time to do the Razorback picks. So we're gonna start off here. Duke with Sienna. If you did not check my video again with the preview video with Steven, my bracket breakdown, go ahead and go down and check that on my channel. So we're going to start off with Duke and Sienna. Obviously, Duke is going to win this. I'm not going to pick a 16 seed over a 1. Sienna, they had a good run in the MAC conference, the Mid-American Athletic Conference, but I think that's what this one. No, Metro Atlantic, sorry. The other one's, that's Mid-Athletic Conference. Something like that is the MAC, but this is the MAC Conference. Duke beats Sienna. They're too talented and too physical for them. I don't see them screwing this up. Ohio State and TCU. Ohio State, I think they're relying way too much on one of their best shooters, starting, one of their best scorers all time. But I think TCU's got overall great depth. I think they'll be able to handle the Buckeyes pretty well, and I think they'll move on to the second round. St. John's, Northern Iowa, edge of 4 in that St. John's offense. Their defense is phenomenal. They got too much of Northern Iowa. Look, I think of Northern Iowa, some people have also said this, I think if the Panthers were playing a different team, they've been on a roll since that Missouri Valley Conference tournament. Honestly, I think if they were playing a different team, I think they'd win. I think St. John's and Rick Pitino is way too much, I think, for Northern Iowa. And also, Rick Pitino, last year, they had an early exit. They were playing a Hall of Fame John Calipari in Arkansas, who's really good in March. I think they can make a different run, but we'll see. Kansas and Cal Baptist. Look, Cal Baptist has a really, a great idea. Dominic Daniels Jr., I've been previewing him. He's been a great one. I saw him in the WAC championship the other day. He was phenomenal. I just think Kansas, especially with Darren Peterson, I think Kansas and up, down, low, they're going to be able to get to him. I don't see California Baptist winning this game, but hey, or I guess I can technically see it, but I don't think it will happen. I think Kansas and Bill Self take the victory here, and we get a Pitino versus Bill Self game, which we didn't get to see last year because you're truly Who Picked Zooey ruined that chance. But I think St. John's and Kansas will meet up in the second round of this year. It's Louisville and South Florida, the 11-6 game. I think, honestly, the Bulls can take this victory because they've got such a high-flying offense. Louisville star freshman's out, and they've got Joseph Pinion. They've got everything. The South Florida has done a great job this year. They fired on all cylinders. I think the Bulls make a run to the second round over Louisville in this one. Michigan State, North Dakota State. North Dakota State, they're great on offense. They can shoot. They got the white guy shooters. But I think Michigan State is going to be a good one this year for the Spartans. They've been phenomenal all year, I guess, especially with Jeremiah Fears. So, I can definitely, or Jeremy Fears, sorry. I need to make sure I got that name right. I knew it was Jeremiah Fears, but I didn't know if they went by Jeremy or Jeremiah. But anywho, Michigan State gets the win. Fears has been phenomenal. The whole team as they're well balanced. I could definitely see the Spartans, especially January favorite Izzo, Tom Izzo, and Michigan State will get the win. You don't doubt them in March. Of course, they've had some crazy upsets before, but I don't think that happens this time. UCLA, UCF. Look, UCF's gotten some big wins, but UCLA's been on a roll this year. I think they've been on a run late in the season. I definitely think that UCLA can get this victory over the Knights. Also, I'm not going to be yapping about these matchups like I've done in the past. We're going to make this short and sweet. Obviously, we're going to make this as long as it needs to, but we're going to make this a good, balanced video. Furman, they had a tremendous upset a few years ago over Virginia. I don't think this will happen, but I maybe can honestly see UConn losing this game. I don't think it will happen, of course, because UConn, I think they do play better outside the Big East, and I think they get the win, especially Dan Hurley in March has been pretty good. They've won 2 titles this decade. Florida, we move on to the South. Florida against Prairie View A&M. Florida, obviously, I don't think Prairie View gets the win here. Clemson and Iowa. Iowa's got Clemson. They've got some talent on the defensive side, but Iowa, they've got some they've got some offensive talent too. But I think Iowa's really big thing is Bennett Sturts. He's been phenomenal this year. he can make March Madness moves. Iowa, I believe, just like he did at Drake, and they've won him. He has won a conference tournament game with his coach, which I for some reason don't know as well. I don't know why I don't know his name, but he was great at Drake last year. I know I should know this if I want to be a future analyst. I apologize. But Iowa, I think, gets the victory over Clemson and moves on to the second round, getting the win over the Tigers. Vanderbilt, McNeese. McNeese got the upset last year, but I don't think they'll happen this year. Vanderbilt, with Tyler Tanner, Duke Miles, Nickel. They've been phenomenal. They're phenomenal players, phenomenal shooters. I don't think they'll have any trouble against McNeese. Maybe they'll give them some struggles. I think Vanderbilt will get the win here against the Cowboys. Nebraska and Troy, watch out. This could be an upset. Will I pick them? I was thinking about it. I'm not going to. I think Nebraska, this is the year that they win. Look, a first-round exit, that's possible for the Cornhuskers. Troy is a very good team. They've got some great point shooters. But I just do think Nebraska, it will be, I think, a tad too much for Troy. It'll be a good game, I believe. I think the Cornhuskers will get it done this year. I think they get their first ever tournament win. North Carolina VCU. Caleb Wilson has not been playing. And VCU's got some they got some weapons that can run. You can see they're plus 2.5. They're plus 2.5. But if you take a look, UNC doesn't have Caleb Wilson this year, and he was ESPN top 100. You take a look, VCU has been quick this year. They can make some noise. They're one of those little David type Goliath, maybe not too David versus Goliath. I'm not talking like FDU or two, but they're small. Okay, they're a smaller team. They're not. I think they have a chance at making some noise when they get hot, and I think that one of those games will be against North Carolina. Illinois against Penn, I don't think it'll be too much. Penn, great run in the tournament, and all that. They got former Iowa head coach, but Illinois, the Fighting Illini, get the win early here. I'm not going to go too crazy. St. Mary's A&M with Bucky Ball. I think that's a very good advantage, but St. Mary's, they can shoot the ball well, and they can also be very physical on the defensive side, and they can they can create turnovers pretty dang well as well. I think that'll hurt the Aggies in this one. I think St. Mary's will be, good enough just to get the victory over Bucky McMillan and the Texas A&M Aggies. They get the win just like they did against Vanderbilt as a 7th seed last year. They move on to the second round where they will play the Houston Cougars. I'm not going to have be second guessing my thing. Look, I don't think the Cougars will lose in the first round. When was the last time that Houston lost in the first round as a top team? Really, when was that the last time they lost? I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. I think Houston gets the dub over Idaho. All right, moving on. This would be great for Arkansas's region, but Arizona takes the win over Long Island. No, not Long Island. Utah State. Villanova's not the same physical team they used to be. They have their own flaws. Utah State is a pretty good team. I think they can make some noise. Mountain West, maybe they don't do as well in the tournament as they should, even though San Diego State made the championship a few years ago. I think Utah State will win this. Wisconsin High Point. Man, High Point is a talented, high-powered offense that can shoot the ball really well. They can shoot the threes well. And then Wisconsin, they've got a really good backcourt, but I'm going to take the upset here. High Point's got the returning starters back from last year. I've done some, I've done the research. I've seen the way they play in that big, they dominate from start to finish. They're a very physical team. High Point, I think, gets the upset. All right, now you're taking a look at the Razorbacks, and with Darius Acuff leading the way, I don't see them losing to Hawaii tomorrow. Hawaii does not play that good of a defense to be able to contain a team like Darius Acuff, Trayvon Brazile, Malik Thomas, all of them, and Billy Richmond. They're going to be flying high. The Hogs move on to the second round to play High Point. Give me, BYU, Texas, AJ DeBensa. You don't have Richie Saunders in there. He's been a very, very big player. When they played Oklahoma State, he was, but I definitely think they'll win this one against Texas. They got Tremont Mark, all of them, but I don't see the Longhorns getting the victory here. Gonzaga, Kennesaw State. Nah, Mark Few ain't going to lose first round at Kennesaw State. Miami, Missouri. Let me give you 2 words. Mark Mitchell, a physical guy. Miami, they've got some great players. They've got, the first year under the head coach. They have been phenomenal. Miami has. They got in the rankings, then they dropped out of it. They've gotten some big wins. But Missouri, they can play physical. against great teams. And Miami's been ranked many times. They've been in the top category in the ACC, making it to the ACC championship. I think Mizzou gets the win here, and they can maybe even go on a run. Who knows? When they get hot, they get hot. I definitely think that this Missouri team has something that I think the 10 seed honestly doesn't say about. 2C Purdue, I think, they could honestly lose to Queens. I don't think it'll happen. I think Purdue has been a different team since, that FDU. I think they've been different in March. Michigan and Howard, I think the Wolverines will win. No questions asked. Georgia, St. Louis. Georgia's got a top offense, but St. Louis and Robbie Avila, he has been a phenomenal player for St. Louis this year, and I think that they will get the victory over Georgia. I just don't know if I can trust the Bulldogs when it comes down to this. St. Louis has got about, they can play, they can shoot twos well, they can shoot three well. They're all well balanced, I think, more than Georgia is. I think they can get the victory over the Dogs in this one. Akron, they're a very physical team. You're going against Texas Tech, who is Christian Anderson. They made the Elite Eight last year. Don't remind me about that Hawks game. I'm going to take Akron here. We take a look, at kind of what they've been doing. I'm going to kind of just show you a little more information of why they're doing it, why I picked them to win. You take a look at their preview. They're short. I didn't say that. They are short, but their greatness, and they can shoot the ball really well. Their offense has done pretty well this entire season. They are definitely a team that can make some noise in this tournament, and we'll see how far I have them going. Alabama, you don't have Aiden Holloway. You have LeBron Philon has been a factor for Alabama this year, getting SEC first team, and Hofstra, they are a key team that I saw in that CAA tournament, and they've done this year against some teams like that are Power 4. The trouble that Alabama's going through, I'm going to say it. I'm going to put Hofstra getting the victory. I've seen multiple people do it. I think they will be that 13th seed to go past the 4 seed this year and get the victory over the Tide, who are having some struggles. Their defense isn't that good. Hofstra can, they can be physical. They can take it to the basket, and I think that will ruin Alabama's struggling defense this year. Hofstra will get the victory, the upset one, over the Tide. Miami, Ohio, this didn't update, but Miami, Ohio did end up winning over SMU. Tennessee, they don't shoot the ball as well, but they can make plays with Nate Ament and Gillespie. I think the Miami, Ohio, I think they are going to win against Tennessee. They are going to keep this run going. They got a momentum swing. Give me the Red Hawks to move on and keep that magical season alive. Virginia, I think they get the win over Wright State. Wright State, hey, watch out though. Virginia could pull some stunt where they somehow lose this game, but I don't think they will this time. Virginia gets the win over Wright State. Kentucky, Santa Clara. Kentucky's got great players that can make shots. You got Otega Owe. You got Chandler. You got pretty good talented players under Mark Pope with Kentucky that have done some, some inconsistent but some pretty also dang good things this year. But Santa Clara, the way they've pulled some stunts this year where they've gotten some big wins, especially beating St. Mary's and also head to this WCC final. I'm going to take Santa Clara in this one. I think they can get the victory over Kentucky, and they'll be the second West Coast Conference team over an SEC team in the 7-10 matchup. Iowa State or Tennessee State. Tennessee State, Coach Brown's done a great job with the Tigers this year, but I don't think Tennessee State will get the win over a high-flying, dominant Iowa State team. All right, so now you take it back to the round of 32. Take it back to the East region, Duke and TCU. TCU, I think, will give a fight, probably like that UCF Duke game from a few years ago. TCU's done great against good opponents this year, but I don't think it'll be enough to beat Cam and Caden Boozer, the Boozer brother, and Duke. St. John's and Kansas. I think this is obviously a lot of people. There's probably 5-4 matchups shouldn't be. Maybe so many people picking the 5, but they really shouldn't be a 5. Honestly, I feel like you could easily swap this one. St. John's, I think, gets the victory. I think their defense will be way too much for Darian Peterson if he even wants to play that game. Who knows? I know he has a lot of work ethic, but sometimes he doesn't seem like he, and their team can get dragged down, all that. St. John's, I think, gets the win. Rick Pitino gets his team to the Sweet 16. South Florida, Michigan State. Love South Florida way they've been playing this year. I described them earlier, but I think Jeremy Fears and Michigan State, I think, the way they've been playing and the way they're well balanced, I think the Spartans will knock off the win. It'll be close. South Florida's going to give them a battle in the round of 32. UCLA, UConn. UCLA, they've been on a roll. I think that stops against the Huskies. UConn gets the victory. Also, I got this one as well. UCLA's more experienced in tournament games than UCF is. UCLA gets that win, and then they lose to a more experienced UConn team in the second round. They move to the Sweet 16. Florida and Iowa, I think Sturt's run with the Hawkeyes ends here. Florida gets the victory, and they move back to the Sweet 16. Nebraska and Vanderbilt, I gave you against Troy. I won't give you against Tyler Tanner and that Vanderbilt Commodore team. They've been phenomenal this year. Honestly, if this was a month ago, I probably would have had McNeese winning. Nope. Vanderbilt moves to the Sweet 16 for the first time in a long time, in fact. All right, Dodge Squad, so I have Illinois winning this one. And something happened with my camera. I don't really know what happened, but I got it now. Illinois is winning this one and to go to the Sweet 16. I think they're due dominant for VCU, well-rounded. I think if Fighting Illini get to the Sweet 16. They've also been pretty good in tournaments recently. St. Mary's in Houston. St. Mary's can do a lot of things in basketball. I think they'll do enough to beat Buckyball. They won't have enough to beat Kingston Flemings and Sharp for the Cougars. I think Houston takes the victory in this one. Moves to the Sweet 16. Arizona, Utah State. Arizona's too good for Utah State. High Point, Arkansas. Arkansas might have some trouble against a high-powered, High Point offense, but I think Darius Cuff and that Arkansas high-powered offense will take over and be able to get enough to win. Also, I don't think High Point, another reason is I don't think they'll be able to get to the Sweet 16. I don't think they'll have enough, experience, enough momentum, they'll have enough momentum, but I just don't think they'll get to the Sweet 16. I don't think they'll make it that they have enough to make it that far. BYU, Gonzaga. I like BYU in this one. I don't think Gonzaga's physical enough. What I've seen this year, I think they're a little weak sometimes. I think with the AJ, he's been very dominant against good teams this year. I think BYU gets to the Sweet 16 once again. Missouri and Purdue, I maybe could see an upset here. I don't see it this year, though, Purdue and Missouri, but I think Missouri will give their toughest shot like they've been doing all year to great teams as long as they've been playing like they've been doing a lot this year. Purdue gets the victory in this one. And Braden Smith has another good game to go to the Sweet 16. Michigan and St. Louis. I think this is where St. Louis's great season comes to an end against the top-seeded Wolverines. Akron and Hofstra, one of these double-digit seeds going to win. I think Hofstra's game ends. Akron, the very small but physical, talented Akron Zips make it to the Sweet 16 against the Wolverines. Miami, Ohio, Virginia. I think this is where the Cinderella run ends. Virginia takes the victory and moves on. Santa Clara, Iowa State. I think Iowa State's way too much for Santa Clara. I think Santa Clara can, I think they can come up with good stops, but I think Iowa State will have also a lot of other stuff that Santa Clara's going to have to worry about. And I think the Cyclones get to the Sweet 16, and I think they move on. All right, moving on to the Sweet 16 now. Duke and St. John's. Who am I going to pick? You're going to have Cameron Boozer versus Ejiofor, sorry. Honestly, if I was going to pick, I will take Rick Pitino. Their streak keeps on. They've had a lot of momentum. They are underseeded. And with the way they are physical on defense, the way they're so strong, and the way that Caleb Foster's out for Duke, that's going to hurt them as much, as well as some other injuries. That's going to be tough when you got to also go up against a momentum holding St. John's team who is just going to come out firing, and they're going to get you. And also, if Virginia did to if St. John's does to Camboose what Virginia did, there are going to be some stoppage points. I think St. John's can get the win here and move on to the Elite Eight for the first time in over 25 years. I don't know when that was, but it wasn't this decade. Michigan State and UConn. I think this is when UConn's also run. They haven't been the best against some of these. They've beaten some good teams, but I don't see them making the Sweet 16 this season. I think Michigan State will get the victory. I think Tom Izzo will get to the Elite Eight. They've got such a well-rounded team. I think they'll be able to handle UConn's weaknesses, especially their defensive issues. I think the Spartans get to the Elite Eight. Moving on, Florida and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt beat them last time. Florida beat them earlier in the year. I think Florida gets their get back. Florida gets the win, but that'll be a great game. Illinois and Houston, both well-rounded and can score and shoot the ball really well. I think Houston with Kingston Flemings and Kelvin Sampson are going to go to the Elite Eight with a rematch in the last year's national championship. Moving on, Arizona, Arkansas. I'm sorry, I never put the hog hat up. Did I put the hog hat for the High Point Arkansas game? Well, I have it now. I just want to point you out, Arkansas, 3 years in a row, 3 tournament appearances in a row, they have beaten 1-seeded Gonzaga, 1-seeded Kansas, and 2-seeded St. John's. They have made the Elite Eight 2 of those times and 1 Sweet 16. Actually, 3 Sweet 16s, but they ended in the Sweet 16 last year. Probably should have made the Elite Eight, but it's okay. Because you are going to make it this year. I take Arkansas, who pig, to make it to the Elite Eight, to upset Arizona. I'm not just saying this as a fan. They have so much momentum. They have a lot of confidence. I believe that Arkansas has done this so many times that they can do it again. They can make Arizona, do what they've done, but many times before. They haven't made an Elite Eight in about 20 years, I think. 20-plus years since they last won, or actually something like that. It's been a while since they made the Elite Eight. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, it was only 10 years ago they made the Elite Eight. But it's been a while since they've gone to the Final Four. And definitely, I think that continues. The amount of times Arizona's had chances, I don't see it. I can't believe it happens this time, especially when we're going against a tough, gritty Arkansas team. They make it to the Final Four. I mean, Elite Eight. Maybe they'll go to the Final Four. Who knows? BYU and Purdue. BYU, I think this is where AJ can't do all of it. You're going to have to go against a physical Purdue team. I think that will make the Elite Eight and move on. Michigan and Akron, this is also where the Zips run comes to an end. Michigan's just way too physical. They can do a lot of stuff. Exelberg is just way too talented for Akron to deal with. Michigan, top-seeded, takes the win. Virginia and Iowa State. Look, Virginia's got a high-powered offense. They can score the ball. They can score really well. But Iowa State, they're well-balanced, and I think they can do a lot more. They've also dominated way more against great teams this year. Iowa State gets the win. All right, so now take a look at our Elite Eight. You have St. John's, Michigan State, Florida, Houston, Arkansas, Purdue, and Michigan, Iowa State. Who will go to the Final Four? You have St. John's, Michigan State. St. John's, a very great defense. Michigan State, a very well-rounded offense, well-rounded team. I think that St. John's is going to have. I think it's just going to be a great game. Honestly, it's just going to be very entertaining to watch if this happens. But I'm going to take Tom Izzo. I think he gets to the Final Four with Michigan State for the first time since 2019. I think this is the year he gets there. I think the Spartans become that 3 seed to go, be that higher seed over St. John's to win. I think Michigan State heads to the Final Four. I had chose them last year. They didn't make it. I keep my trust in Tom Izzo. They're making it to the Final Four this season. Please don't lose me. Florida, Houston. Florida, I think their guard trouble is going to happen, especially when they're going against a tough Houston defense. I think also when you're trying to guard Kingston Flemings and Sharp and Uzan, I think it's going to be a tough job for the Gators. They got some bigs. They got Defensive Player of the Year or Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC. Ruben Chimbulu. They also got Thomas Hall. I think that's going to be tough for Houston, but I think the Houston Cougars get the job done. They get revenge over Florida. They move on. Sorry, Florida, not having you this year to win the whole thing. Yeah, thanks for getting my bracket right that last year, though. All right, Arkansas and Purdue. Will I have the Hogs making the Final Four? Look, Purdue, Braden Smith, Arkansas's defense has had some trouble stopping some threes, especially the white guy shooting just random threes, but Braden Smith's a very good player. Can Purdue stop Arkansas and with Darius Acuff? I don't think they'll be able to stop him, but that offense I think will be able to condense. Now, I do think Arkansas can make it to the Final Four. I definitely do think they can, but I don't think they will in this bracket. Purdue gets to the Final Four. That's where the run ends. But great season, Arkansas. I love my Hawks. Michigan, Iowa State, very good team, but I think the Wolverines will take the victory. They move on to the Final Four. Very great game to watch, but I think Axelberg will be able to get the job done when it matters most and will be able to lead the Wolverines to victory. All right, so you take a look at the Final Four. Michigan State and Houston, Purdue, Michigan. Will we have a Michigan State-Michigan game in the national championship? Let's find out. You got Michigan State, Jeremy Fears versus Kingston Flemings. Top players in the nation going at it. Tom Izzo, Kelvin Sampson, who will be going? And they're two well-rounded teams, but I think Houston has a little bit more experience. What we've seen overall as a team, especially when they made the national championship here, they're going to want to get to it again. I think the Cougars take victory and move on to the national championship once again. Purdue and Michigan. I think Michigan's weight. I think Purdue. Last time they played, I think this Michigan Wolverines team is definitely going to want a chance to get revenge from last time when they were the 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament and Purdue lost. Purdue beat them by about 10. Give me Wolverines to get revenge and get the win. So we will not have a Michigan State-Michigan game, but that was a good idea. So no SEC teams in there and only one seed. But it makes sense. Houston, Michigan. Who will my national championship be? My national champion will be, I think Dusty May finally gets it. I think he gets it done. He got to the Final Four before. Michigan made to the Sweet 16 last year as a 5 seed, almost beat off top-seeded Auburn. Hey, this Michigan team has something. They are top. They are the #1 scoring defense in the league. They were able to stop Kingston Flemings in that Houston offense. I think the Wolverines take it. They're a very dominant team, and they're good. And I think that Big Ten game, they will come out ready with fire the whole tournament and win the national title to move on. Well, not really move. Oh yeah, sorry. Well, Michigan wins. That's my champion. Michigan wins the national championship. Not really a move on. 1-7. It doesn't really matter. But Michigan wins the national championship in my bracket. Thank you so much for watching, Dog Squad. Where's my? Okay, I just make sure my camera wasn't like showing the teams and all that. So, hey, let me know what you think in the comment section below. What are your bracket picks? And good luck on your basketball. Good luck on basketball. Hopefully the Hogs can take the victory in March Madness. And hopefully they can make it far. But Michigan is my champion. I also got lots of brackets as well. Got like 70 of them, I'm not going to lie, because I want to try to see what I can do with it. But I got about 3 real brackets. The others are just seeing what we can do. But thank you so much for watching, Dog Squad. I will see you in the next video. Enjoy March Madness. We'll have analyst videos after each round, just like we did 2 years ago. I'll see you next time, Dog Squad. Peace.